You have to usually wait for years to.
Good evening, everybody. Today is Tuesday, September 4th, 2018, and this is a regular Musco City Council meeting. Yeah?
If you all could please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ann. And then I will move right on to item number 1, which is the consent agenda.
I have one request to just change some wording that I don't think captured the entirety of what I had said in part of the minutes.
In the minutes?
In the minutes, yes.
Then,
Okay.
You need to vote on the consent agenda less the minutes.
Perfect.
And then take that up as a separate item.
I
Okay,
would make a motion to approve the consent agenda minus the minutes.
okay, so we've got a motion, okay.
I'll second. Whoop.
Okay, we got a motion by Brandy and a second by Gina to approve the consent agenda with exception of 1A, which will be pulled.
And before we vote, I would like to let you know, sir, that I will be recusing myself and abstaining from the vote on item D because it directly affects my daily life, my job. So,
Okay, so we got the motion by
Brandy.
Brandy and the second by Gina with the pulling of 1A, and Gina's abstaining from the vote on item number D. Is that correct?
yes, sir.
Okay, with that, I'll start to roll with Ann.
Aye.
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 Right.
Aye.
Okay, and then I will move on. You have the floor, Brandy, on 1A.
So on the minutes, the item 8, the single stream curbside recycling program, I think it's just a little bit of a wording thing. The paragraph towards the end there, the lids will be painted black to hide the current list. I'm gonna wait till for you, Lori. Sullivan feels choosing particular packaging and consuming less and may be able to be included in the education. Just something came out a little awkward there, so I would like to change it to Sullivan would like consumer education regarding packaging and consuming less, and considering business incentives, possibly with input from the SEC or PCEI. That was my recollection of my comments.
Okay.
That's fine. That's Scrivener's work. It doesn't change the
Intent.
flavor of
Right,
the
it's correction of the
conversation.
minutes, okay. Item number
I've just
8.
found that if, just for the future, if I find that it doesn't change the intent, that I'll just email Lori and,
Yeah,
you know.
I unfortunately looked at it right before I left the house. And
Okay.
I think I probably couldn't do that after the fact, that it was approved,
Just for
correct?
council's edification, you can email Lori, she can make those changes, send them out. Once it's voted on, though, the clerk cannot make changes without council authorization.
Thank you, Lori.
Okay, so Brandy, so,
So I would make a motion to approve the minutes with the adjustments.
Second?
okay, we got a motion by Brandy and a second by Catherine to approve 1A and the correction of minutes. I'll start with you, Brandy.
Aye.
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 Okay. Very good. We will move on to the next item. Staff recognition report. Gary, do you have anything for us this evening, sir?
Not tonight, sir.
Okay, mayor's appointments. I have 3 that I would wish council to make a decision on this evening. Appointments, Daniel Cronin for Tree Commission, expiration 12/31 of 2018. George Newcomb, a Tree Commission, expiration 12/31/2018. And Lene Shineman, Arts Commission, expiration 12/31/2019, and that's a high school non-voting seat.
I move that we approve the slate of appointments.
Second.
Okay. We've got a motion by Gina and a second by Jim to approve all 3 candidates. Further discussion? We'll start to roll with Ann.
Aye.
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 Okay. With that, we will move on to item number 4, public comment and mayor's response
We
period.
have one of,
Oh.
We
I
have
think.
2 of them. in
Oh,
there.
yeah, I see one.
Linnea
Oh,
is
there's
over
another
there.
one.
Oh, I'm sorry. Please stand up. I'm so sorry. Okay. Would either one of you like to speak for a moment about being on the commissions? If you would, come on up to the podium. I'm sorry. I usually
You
do
don't-
this. And
Don't
come
have
on
to.
up. Doesn't matter. And introduce yourselves to us. You right up here, give your name and your address and the commission we just voted you in on. And
Social security number 2?
no, that,
Last 4
none of that
digits.
sort of thing.
So my name is Daniel Cronin. I'm the assistant professor with the landscape architecture program here at the University of Idaho. And I'm definitely happy to be a part of the board and happy to serve the public. So
Thank you for being a part of that. You bet.
thank you, guys.
And I'm a 10th grader at Moscow High School, and I'm also very excited to be part of the Arts Commission.
Go ahead and introduce yourself, young lady.
I'm Linnea Sheneman, and I don't know what else to say, but I'm really excited to be a part of the Arts Commission.
Oh, thank you, Lene. Now, I really love it when we get a chance to have kids, high school kids on these boards, these commissions, because it's a big deal with me. And thank you very much, Daniel, as well, for being a part of it. And I want to give you guys a round of applause for serving on commissions. We have a number of commissions in our city, and it's important that we have so many volunteers that spend their time and efforts on doing these things for us, and we truly appreciate that. So, okay, with that now, I'll move on to public comment and a mayor's response period. We let folks get up and talk to us for 3 minutes, as long as they give us their name and their address, as well as long as it's not something on tonight's council agenda and/or in front of public or P&Z and/or Board of Adjustment. So if you have something you want to share with us, please come forward.
We need a little call-in thing.
With that, nobody's rushing to the podium. I will move on to item number 5. Very exciting confirmation of Sarah Banks as our Finance Director and oath of office. Gary Reedner, you have got the podium, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. As indicated, council received an email from me about a week ago indicating that after consultation with Mayor Lambert, he has decided to make the appointment. You guys get to make the confirmation of Sarah Banks, who's our current Assistant Finance Director, to the position of Finance Director. By way of background, when our previous finance director left us over 2 years ago, Sarah was the accounting manager in the finance department at that time, and we went through a couple of searches, could not find a suitable candidate in the pool, so we decided that we would look within to see if there was anybody here who could fill that role. Sarah was then promoted to Assistant Finance Director, a position she's been serving in for right about 2 years. Has done a great job, kept the mayor informed as we move along. She's a familiar face. She comes and sees you every month with disbursement reports and that sort of thing. Has been instrumental in the development of the budget, as well as work on the annual audit and the preparation of our comprehensive annual financial report. It also gives me the opportunity to step down as acting finance director should you vote affirmatively for her confirmation. So I would, without hesitation, ask the mayor to ask the council to confirm Sarah's appointment.
I would entertain a motion for that.
I move that we confirm Sarah Banks as our finance director. I can't look at her or I'll cry. Wholeheartedly.
Second.
Catherine beat you to the punch, Jim.
Okay.
I got a motion by Gina and a second by Catherine to confirm Sarah Banks as our finance director. I will start to roll with Brandy.
Aye.
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 Yahoo! Now we need to have her take the oath of office, Gary, so she is confirmed.
Yes, thank you very much. Sarah, if you could come forward, please.
Which way do I stand? This way. Towards your family.
And raise your right hand.
And repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Idaho,
the Constitution and the laws of the state of Idaho,
and will faithfully discharge all the duties
and will faithfully discharge all of the duties
of City Treasurer Finance Director
of City Treasurer Finance Director
of Moscow, Idaho,
of Moscow, Idaho,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
That's sign.
All right.
Sarah, as customary, I always ask any department managers if they would like to speak. You know,
Yes. Okay. Well, Mayor, Council, Gary, all I can say is thank you very much for this appointment. I have thoroughly enjoyed the last 3 years that I've been here. I've enjoyed working with all of you and with the city, and I look forward to working more with you in the future and what comes of it. So thank you very much.
Okay, now don't run off, Sarah, because there's something I want to say about you.
Okay.
Sarah's got her family here, a good-looking family. His kids are over here beaming. They're very proud of their mama for a fine job that she's doing. So this is a leadership role and a moment you kids will never forget about your mother being here. No matter how old you get, even as old as I am, you'll remember this. Anyway, so your mom watching Sarah go through the last, 20 months, 22 months, I guess,
Yep.
has really grew in her job. I'm very, very proud of what you've been able to achieve, and I look forward to working with you, Sarah.
Thank you very much. I look forward to it too.
After a couple of false starts, I will also tender my official resignation as acting finance director.
Well, we accept that, Gary. Do we have to vote on that?
I think I'll still come
Well,
to work.
Gary, I will say one thing. This has been a good test for Gary as well for these last 22 months or so. I don't know if there's been times I'm certain without reservation that he would disagree with that. However, I think one of the good things about it is we find out a lot about finance and how our department worked, and we were able to do a number of different things which really made sense to us. And so I'm very proud of what we've done and what we've accomplished. It hasn't been because I say we, I shouldn't be including myself, because really it's been Gary and his leadership that's made it happen, and Sarah and the rest of the staff. So anyway, congratulations, Sarah. Okay, with that, we'll move on to item number 6, Citizens Commission Report on the Farmers Market Commission, and we have Jen Piffner with us this evening, as well as Jamie Hill. So, Jen, you have the podium.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So yes, we have the annual Farmers Market Commission report coming up. 1 second, if I can work the equipment.
He wants to hang out with us.
Wait, leave him here.
Go ahead, go get that boy and bring him back here and come up here with us.
Ready to do some legislating.
Be on the payroll next week.
So Jamie Hill is our vice chair for the Farmers Market Commission. She'll be sharing some of the activities from last year's market and some of the projects that the commission looks forward to working on this year. And then I'll throw in a few statistics after that. And then we've got Amanda Argona, who's our community events manager and farmers market manager, to answer any questions and to help us with any information we may leave out. So with that, Jamie.
Welcome, Jamie.
Yes. I had to laugh with Jen that she had to turn the projector on for me, even though that's my job. I am Jamie Hill, for those of you who don't know me, 814 South Jefferson Street. I just want to tell you a little bit about the 2017 Farmers Market, even though we're most of the way through the 2018 Farmers Market. This is a list of our current commission members. You'll notice that we have 9 seats on the commission currently, with 1 vacancy recently. Last year in 2017, we had 3 new people join our commission, so kind of a new infusion of new ideas and activity, with our chair and vice chair being new people, and then Jenny Ford from the chamber. So some of the projects that happened in 2017, we worked on the strategic plan, finalized that. It was a really big project for the commission. It turned out this beautiful, beefy handout that we kind of at every single meeting are looking to and trying to make sure that we're really utilizing all of that work as we plan for the future. We did a lot of updating, changing definitions, policies. I know that council saw all of those and reviewed them ahead of time. But personally, I did want to mention that creating the vendor handbook was so amazing for me as a new commission member, and as someone who's loved the market the whole time that I've lived in Moscow, to be able to hand someone something and say, here's how you do it. Because there are so many questions that come up. How does market work, and how do I get in it, and who can be in it, and how much do I pay? And to be able to just say, oh, let me flip you to this page. And it also starts with a really great section about the history of the market, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And then operating changes, we had a number of them in 2017. Most importantly, we had our full-time market manager who actually started full-time in March of 2017. And then the market's also been in the transition from the arts department to the community events department. So kind of creating all of those changes, and now that we have Amanda on board, we're looking forward to working with her as the market manager, and some other community events too. So some market activities, some fun photos to look at. These are just a few of the things that we did in 2017. Obviously, as Moscow residents, you know that the market is a thriving place on Main Street every Saturday. So some of the things that we have highlighted, musicians, we had 27 paid musicians last year, and that doesn't include the buskers, so the people who are playing on the sides, on the corners for fun, away from the microphones. We had chess at the market last year, big giant chess pieces. Everybody always seems to really, really love those. And Cal Summer of Science kits, we gave away over 700 of those. And I know that number this year is on track to be just as high, if not higher. They are really, really popular, being able to say, hey kid, you're at the market, and instead of looking at plants the first week, look, you get your own thing. You get this bag to take home, and learn how to explore, how to ask questions, how to use some really cool science stuff. I know my mom is a teacher, and she jumped at the opportunity to take a look at what Cal's had created for that. Some projects that we have on the horizon, we are currently going through an RMA process. We've been doing counts at the market, seeing how many attendees we have. I was pleasantly surprised to see the number was almost twice what I thought it was going to be. So we're looking forward to reviewing that information and then sharing it with the community. Again, just highlighting that the farmers market is a really vital part of our community. We are looking at doing a downtown business survey, so reaching out to businesses, making sure that they're happy with the market and with what's happening in front of their storefronts, and that we're all kind of playing on the same team. Like I mentioned, the vendor handbook updates and revisions, we have definitely decided that it's a living document, and we want to make sure that we are continuing to revise the handbook to make it the most approachable for new vendors and old vendors alike, and make sure that it accurately reflects the policies of the market. We're looking forward to farm visits sometime this fall, hopefully soon. And then personally, the thing I'm really excited about is we are looking at starting an oral history project. So working with Latah County Community Historical Society, as well as previous city employees, previous vendors, people who have just been shopping at the market for 40 years, reaching out to them, finding out their stories about the market, why it's important to them, and collecting those as we start to approach our 50th anniversary in the next couple of years. So that is all I have for the fun stuff, and I will hand it back over to Jen for the numbers.
I personally think this is the fun stuff, but I'm a little bit weird, and I know that. We'll look forward to having Amanda more involved in this presentation next year. She'll know these numbers inside and out, but since she wasn't here in 2017, I'm happy to just take a minute and share some of the statistics that we had. So for our vendor count for 2017, we have several categories, and they're just broken down here by counts and percentages. So we've been pretty steady as we go. Some of the differences you'll see from year to year will be different categorizations of vendors. For instance, the 2018 market, you'll see a little bit of a difference with those vendor definition changes that we made. And we're really just trying to really count agricultural type products. as best as possible. So just because somebody does, for instance, cheese out of goat's milk, if they actually raise the goats, make the cheese, that's more agricultural than just value added. So we'll be counting that a little bit differently in 18, but still kind of similar breakdowns to what we've seen in the past for vendor count. Sales reports, and these are always interesting. In 2013, that's when we began collecting sales reports, and we do this through our software program, which was Manage My Market, and in the last year we moved to FarmSpread. For this current season, we've moved to FarmSpread. So we'll have some different ways to count things with that new program as well. But through 2017, we had about 1 million and change in vendor sales reports. We're also interested because we had the same count of vendors, had a really rainy spring that we think probably contributes to that, as well as a fall. So those rainy shoulders to market we think may have affected those numbers a bit. We're also pretty heavily discussing fees at that time, so we don't know if just the context of when that conversation was happening versus when sales reports were coming in had any difference in that. So just a few nuggets to think on when we look at our sales reports. So we have several financial assistance programs that we work with, and this is both Idaho and Washington markets. You may remember that the Moscow Farmers Market, one of the first Idaho markets to participate in some of the Washington programs, which is pretty exciting. And speaking with the Washington Fresh Bucks folks and the Senior Farmers Market Nutritional Program people, they were actually looking at van services to take people to Spokane to spend the dollars that they could get through their financial assistance. And nobody was interested in taking the van to go to the market to come back down. But now that we have the Moscow Farmers Market being so close to Pullman, we're seeing a lot of traffic and people are able to use those benefits. And the Fresh Bucks programs in particular are a spend your dollars and then you can get, I think it's up to 20% or $2 for every $5 or some. There's a breakdown for each of them for additional dollars that you can use at farmers markets. So we're seeing those numbers kind of go up. These are total amounts distributed in our area, not necessarily total amounts reimbursed at the market. So we don't break it down, or they don't break it down per market at this point. So, but some good numbers as we go forward. We also been working that Shop the Market program that began many years ago. Kathleen pioneered that, I believe, in 2010, I believe. And we work with Backyard Harvest, and they're the ones that have helped us process those payments and keep that on track the day of market. So we like to give them a shout out as well for their work that they do with us. So these are some of the costs and revenues that we've looked at, especially when we did the our structural review of the Moscow Farmers Market and just how much resources go into the market itself. Along the top there, you've got staffing costs, programming costs, and then commodity and service costs. And that was something that we've estimated most years just because it's always been in the arts department. So breaking those out are estimates from 13 through 16. 17, we're getting a little bit closer at dialing those in as we have the actual community events division called out separately now. And have kept costs pretty much in line. So the market you've seen now has been the same market you've seen for several years. Trying to manage those costs and be as efficient and as mindful of our resources as possible has been important. As we are in 2017, that is the final year of our previous fee structure. So we won't see those fee changes that were adopted over last winter until we get the final numbers for this current season that we're in. So it's still on track, same number of vendors, no fee changes, so we expect that fee revenue to stay the same. General fund support, given these different items that are in here, is about $83,000, slightly higher due to some sound equipment costs that we purchased, or sound equipment expenses that we saw last year. So just a vendor percentage, a city percentage, just a kind of a way to see how it breaks out, and then gives us some things to track as we move forward too. With that, any questions in particular? Amanda's
For
available.
Jen, Jamie, and Amanda.
Any one of us.
Any one of them, all three of them. Well, it's no secret, I love the farmer's market, and I get a chance, and we have bragging rights here in Moscow because we are the best in the state of Idaho, period. There's no doubt about it. One of the first in the state of Idaho, and in the top 15 in the nation. That's a big deal for a small community like us, but these are some of the trademarks that we have here in Moscow, Idaho, which is absolutely terrific for us. And I just love it. It's every time I'm down there, it's just busy, 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 and so that's a fun thing. So
We jumped from top 25 to top 15.
Yeah, we're in the top 15.
We've been top 15 at least once, I think
Yep.
currently.
I read that somewhere, so I
Oh, I didn't know that.
and I will keep that in my head, even if we drop below that somewhere along the line. It's the last stat that I read.
I was
there, so-
last at 25, so I'm gonna update. Wow, thanks.
But good report. And you know, the commission, Jamie, since the commission has started, I think that has been a huge help for the farmers market and the guidance and the different things that we've done these past few years. How many years has it been now, Jen, that we've done this?
I believe it's 2013 when
It's
the
the first, so
commission.
it's been, this is the fifth year going on, and so it's really been, I think it's really helped.
And I would say my appreciation to the commission is I've been working with them for the last year and a half, especially with some of these big projects they've tackled. They've been very thoughtful, very perceptive in recognizing that they're representing certain groups and the community as a whole. It's just been tremendous to be able to work through some of these big ticket items with them. It's been nice to get them off the ground, and I appreciate that. And I also appreciate Kathleen Burns has put a lot of time and effort into this market, and so it's nice to have such a wonderful program to start with in the first place, so.
I have a question about the tours. Is there a way that we could, do you make it so that maybe if you're available, council members can go?
We
or
haven't, so our
community
farm
members?
site tours are just like our jurying process for craft and value-added type food. So it's really an analytical review of the farm to make sure they're meeting all the requirements. There may be a different approach, or if we could involve council members or the council liaison, or if the council liaison isn't available, as I know sometimes you're not, something else we could look at, but, yeah.
Thank you.
It's pretty technical. It's not I think it's fun,
Yeah,
but
and I
it's not a
think tour
fun
gives you a
farm
different
tour, so.
impression than what you just said.
More of a site visit.
Yeah,
So,
okay,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you, Jen, Jamie, and Amanda.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, we're going on. Then item number 7 is one of the exciting things about tonight. It's very much fun. Police Department Explorer Program, Chief Fry and Officer Mackenzie Fosberg is with us this evening, so welcome.
I'd let Mackenzie get started. Honorable Mayor and Council, thank you for allowing us to present to you tonight. I love it when officers bring us new program ideas, and Mackenzie brought this one to me about 6 months ago, and she's lived it, she's been a part of it, and it excites me when we get to work with youth in leadership and volunteerism, and just times when we get to spend time with youth, and that's what this is going to do. So I'm going to let her present to you since it's her idea.
Thanks, Chief. Thanks for having me tonight again. I'm sure you were impressed before, so you invited me back, which is a good sign. I'm here to talk about the Moscow Police Explorers program. It doesn't exist yet, but hopefully in about a month it will be up and running. That's the plan. So the first thing we're going to go over is just an overview of the program. I broke it down into the goals and the requirements. So the goals of the program: learn about and experience a career in the field of law enforcement, gain skills in leadership, communication, character building, and community service, serve the community through volunteer events, experience positive leadership from adult and youth leaders, and be given opportunities to take on leadership roles, build strong backgrounds of volunteer work and community service for future goals. And then in the requirements for the program, it'll be all young adults between ages of 14 and 18 years old. The ability to continue after 18 years old would be, the example would be if a high school student in the area wanted to go to U of I and they wanted to continue in the program, then they still could with approval from command staff and the program coordinator. So they could continue on until they were old enough to actually apply if they felt they wanted to apply for full-time. Be a resident within Latah County. That's another exciting part, is that it's not just Moscow, it's going to be the surrounding area in the county here for all the students. Meet educational requirement of 2.0 GPA or higher. And then the last requirement is the insurance coverage through the City of Moscow with American Insurance. So the structure of the program for the first round, I put the numbers will be from 6 to 8 explorers. I didn't want to go overboard, and then any less than 6 would I don't know, be sad, I guess, for me. So I went with 6 to 8, so that's what we're hoping for. Trainings will be twice a month, and they'll be the first and third Thursday of each month from 5 to 9 p.m. The training's a good way to explain it is a combination of the Reserve Academy and the Citizens Police Academy. So I put some examples of topics on there: traffic stops, DUI, arrest techniques, ethics, leadership, criminal law, court system. And the cool thing about the classes is that it's not always just going to be me standing there talking about everything that goes on. I love inviting people from the community that actually do work in those positions, like in the court system, having a prosecutor come and explain that whole process and all that stuff. They know much more about it than I do. So it's really exciting to have those similar to the Citizens Police Academy. And then the last thing are the events that the Explorers would be involved with. As SRO and community liaison position, I go out and work most of these events. And so having a group of kids with me, working with me, will be really great. So the examples on there: Lee Newbill Safety Fair, National Night Out, Moscow High School events, could be football games, dances, sporting events, that kind of thing. Anti-bullying talks at other schools, the career fair, which I just found out they're doing a little bit differently this year, and it's not actually going to be a career fair. It'll be broken up throughout the year, but I'm sure we could still be involved with that. The parades, obviously the holiday parade is a big one. And then Walk to School Day. I know all the schools are always looking for crosswalk volunteers. I've seen Mayor Lambert out there doing crosswalks, so we'll have some more bodies out there for you to use. How does this program impact Explorers? The importance of the program is obviously to make a positive impact on the lives of young people in our community. So I put together a list of what I thought would be the most important things that will show young people and teenagers how law enforcement can improve the relationship with them and law enforcement. So serving the community, a role model for younger kids, positive character building, future applicants of MPD or other agencies. A sergeant of mine did tell me that when he was looking into how to get more applicants, the Explorer program was actually one of the top things that brings people in, because it starts the interest from a young age. And then, like we talked about, you have to be 21. So getting that interest and getting them in the door to see how a police department runs, it makes them interested to continue through until they're 21 and can apply. So that's a really good thing. Experience to put on college applications or resumes, gaining skills in leadership, high ethical and moral standards, and service, bringing together MPD and youth in our community, providing a head start into career in law enforcement, showing young people how and why officers do what we do, and being role models among their own peers in school. So the last slide here, Moscow needs this program. The whole idea began at last year's career fair this last February. I had kids from all over the county coming up to me and saying, I want to be in law enforcement, but I'm not 21, I'm 14, so what can I do until I'm 21? How can I volunteer? What can I do now? And I didn't have an answer for them. And I realized that our community sadly doesn't have an answer for them right now. There's nothing that they can come and do at the police department or involved with law enforcement that they can use as a volunteer program. And then to some people that might not really matter, but to me it's a little bit different. Like Chief mentioned, the picture on the slide here was almost 10 years ago, and the 16-year-old in the very front is me. I've gotten about 1 inch taller, inch and a half, probably closer to half an inch, not sure. But this program in my hometown of Gig Harbor, Washington, I was an Explorer in high school, and if it wasn't for this program, I don't think I'd be in law enforcement right now. None of my family members are in law enforcement. I'm kind of the black sheep of the family. But it was because of this program and getting involved with it, it improved my chances in getting into college. And then it also gave me the mindset of keeping myself to a very high standard, because I knew what it took to be in law enforcement, and I knew I had to behave in college and go and have that loyalty already built in, which was really good. And then I started as a reserve officer at MPD when I was still going to WSU. And then I started full-time 2 days after I walked in my graduation at WSU. So the program is near and dear to me, but it's also just something I want to bring to other kids and give kids that same experience that I had when I was a kid, because like I said, it totally improved my life, and I couldn't imagine being where I am today without it. So, are there any questions?
Mackenzie, I got a few comments I want to make.
Criticisms,
No
Mayor?
criticisms, but the catch is,
Working on your
Mackenzie,
stand-up really well.
you, Officer Fosberg, you have enrolled in a huge leadership role for yourself and a mentoring role for our community, which is a big, big deal to me. I think that is very neat. Now, it's not only are you good to be a mentor to these kids coming up that are 14 to 18 years old, but just like you said with your own practical experience in Gig Harbor, there will be kids going through this program that'll never forget it, even if they don't go into law enforcement. And the thing, it's just such a positive thing and impact for our whole community and our county. It's a big deal to me. I mean, I'm excited about it. Catherine?
I just was curious, are you going to do some recruiting? Can you talk a little bit more about how you're going to approach the 14 to 18-year-olds?
Yeah, so my plan as of now is to get into, I've talked to the principal at our high school about popping into the classes that have the core classes of each grade level, and just kind of doing a 5-minute, here's what we're doing, this is a new program, applications are in the office, applications are in my office, turn them into the station, that kind of thing. And then Chief did let me know that I can go out into the county and do the same thing at the other high schools in the area. So that's kind of my first step. And then the application process, the application is kind of thick. Because we have to make sure everyone's good to go to be able to be in it. But that will be a process where it'll involve the application and then an oral board, which I felt was just another step in helping them get into college and that kind of stuff, you know, getting that experience of standing in front of people and getting really red like I do. So that's, and then once they pass the oral board, we'll do a background check, and then they'll sign the waivers and all that kind of stuff, and then it'll be.
So I just want to follow up with just a little more. So does that mean that, you know, because citizens can do rides with officers, is that going to be part of helping them be recruited, that they can participate in that kind of thing?
That they can go on a ride-along prior to being in it. I'm not sure if that's something, we haven't really talked about that. Ride-alongs being involved once they're in the program, absolutely.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
But I'm just talking about, out of curiosity, like, would that be a way that someone might become more interested seeing some of the day-to-day things that you all do?
I'm sure. Oh, go ahead.
If we did, we'd probably have a parent waiver signed.
Oh, sure.
Just so that we could have them, but we'd be open to having them go out for an hour or two with us to kind of see what we do and get a little interest there if that helps. So,
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, we'd work with the parents on that though.
Okay, thank you.
Brandy?
Question. So one of your slides mentioned the program coordinator, so will that be you?
Yeah, it'll be the SRO. So whoever is, so I'm currently the SRO in the department. So yeah. So for
School
now.
Resources Officer, for anybody that doesn't know the acronym out
Sorry.
there in TV land. I think it's neat. Other questions?
do too.
You know, one thing I would recommend as we're going along with this, Mackenzie, is down the road, report back to council maybe in a year. So let us know how this thing went, maybe at the end of the school year. And a question for you is, because this is going to be through the school year process, will it also be in off months as well, like the summer months? Or do you let a kid off for summer to do things and then resume back in the fall? How does that work?
I think the summer will be less of a mandatory time, you know, vacations and stuff like that. We don't want to hold anybody
Sure.
back from anything. The big things in the summer would be the New Bill Safety Fair, which is just before summer, and then National Night Out, which is in summer. And then the only other thing that would be a big event in the summer was some kind of team building activity, like a challenge course or something we can all go do together, and it's something fun for them too.
Yeah.
Great, Catherine.
My question had to do with, especially if you're looking countywide and trying to make it to meetings, have you thought about that you might have to do some virtual classes or?
I haven't thought that far ahead yet. For virtual classes, I don't really know how We could do that at the station, but I'm sure I could figure it out. Either giving them just the PowerPoints if they had to miss a class. There'll be PowerPoints for every class, so they can get that, and then as well as if I can know ahead of time that someone's going to miss a class, I'm sure I could just video it and give it to them. So
Yeah, I just wondered because, with all the other different activities that people are involved in.
yes, kids
And
play-
coming in winter, maybe, that's the only thing I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Hoping that you get some interested students in that age group out in the county.
Yes.
Thank you, Officer
you.
McKenzie. And Chief Fry, thank you very much.
Well, I move to approve the Moscow Police Department Explorer Program.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Catherine and a second by Gina to approve the Moscow Police Department Explorer Program. Start the roll with Brandy.
Aye.
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 Okay, you're on the program. Consider that. Thank you very much. Well, that is the end of our meeting, except we're going to go right into reports. And this is unusual because we've been late evenings the last few times, so this is kind of nice, isn't it? So I'm going to start reports with you, Gina.
Oh, good. I just have one report for you that happened at 5 o'clock today, and relates very closely to Daniel Cronin, our new tree commission member. We spent our time very quickly thinking positively about his appointment and then signing him up for working on our core development team, a kind of a smaller group, working on the edible food forest park. So Daniel didn't have much time to be anything but a new tree commission member and sign him up for all kinds of stuff. So other than that, we were working on actually, we will be at the Moscow Farmers Market on September 15th, and we were working all the dynamics out there and what we were going to put on our bulletin board. Kind of made me have flashbacks to like science fair in like sixth grade. But other than that, it was a good meeting. That's all I have.
Very good, Jim.
I attended the Human Rights Commission last week, and there was a number of things on a rather lengthy agenda. Chief Fry's not here anymore. He attended as well, but I'll narrow it down somewhat. The American Civil Liberties Union is donating some money for a mural on the Moscow Hotel, and there will be other people contributing to that, but it'll be done on the north-facing wall of the Moscow Hotel, which is, it will be something that pertains to human rights. We don't know what it is yet, but you can keep your eyes open for that. Sometime this fall, there's going to be a conference called Finding the Center, which is a one-day human rights conference to about protecting human rights. So I'll keep you up to date on that as the date becomes available, which I don't. There's discussion, but nothing finalized there. The commission initiated discussions about ADA improvements in East City Park up to the picnic shelter, and that was put in by Parks and Rec, so that's something that's been achieved this year. That's a great thing. I also talked about the Moscow Pride March and gathering in the park last weekend, which took place last weekend, and participated in that. Let's see. Oh, and also they were working on promoting the Medicaid expansion for Idaho on this fall's ballot. And that's probably the main things that happened there. So I guess you're up to date on human rights.
Okay, very good. Brandy.
Let's see, the Sustainable Environment Commission last meeting has formed a subcommittee about the pesticides in the parks issue happening at Otness Park, and it will include some Parks and Rec, either Dwight or David, and also some of the city staff that actually work in the park, and two or three members from SEC. So they'll be meeting as a subcommittee to decide how to best hopefully succeed with this pilot project. And they also, we're talking about the National Drive Electric Week, which is coming up. There will be a presence there with electric vehicles a few different times. The Vandal Block Party, which is coming up on September 7th. The city's electric vehicle will be there, and I think some other local residents' vehicles. There will also be electric vehicles outside of McCoy's on the 8th, and then the following week in the Rose Hours parking lot. So that's it for SEC. Historic Preservation met. Their Preservation Moscow insert is done. It looks really great. We got to see it. I don't know the exact date that it's coming out, but it's very colorful and beautiful and
It was in the paper.
really good. Oh, it was. Was it just this
That's
weekend?
like, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Great. And the Orchid Awards is going to coincide with the Fort Russell expansion as a joint celebration. They have Dan Everhart coming to speak. He's the president of Preservation Idaho. He'll be speaking on why do historic districts matter. And that's it. I went to the Pride Festival too, and Art was there, and he spoke, as did many other people running for various offices. It was well attended, and lots of music and talent and energy and booths, banks and Gritman and all kinds of involvement from the community. So it was nice to see.
Thank you, Brandy. Catherine?
A follow-up on Tim's presentation about recycling, I met with Stevie Steely at our school to try to get the Trex collection started, because we have all these people that are interested in collecting, and I talked to Jen about it tonight, and Jamie, and so hopefully we'll start collecting the film, Ziplocs and bread bags and all that kind of stuff, hopefully in schools, and we'll see if the community's interested in doing that. That's pretty exciting, and maybe we can get a bench if we get competitive and beat other communities, and we can get a Trex bench, which is kind of cool. And they talk about the 3 bins, and that approximately 650 bags will fit in what they give you as a container that holds 30 gallons. It's like 3 feet tall. So we're going to check into that some more, since we have a community that's interested in recycling. And I was at Police Pride, but early on that day, and it was a lot of people there. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Nothing to report for Smart Transit or for Fair and Affordable Housing Commission, which will be meeting this time for the first time this summer, which is great. And Planning and Zoning is working on doing some goal setting. So they talked about what it is they might want to be working on in the next couple years. I suggested they talk to Gary and Jen if they want to turn that into a strategic plan. So nothing was selected, but that's what's going on with them right now. And that's it for me.
Okay, very good. I had several things. August 28th, I had the honor of having a luncheon and give a presentation, a little speech to the Fulbright folks that were here at Best Western that were carried on with the university. There was 53 people from 40 different countries, and that was a pretty big deal. That was a very interesting thing. Yeah, it's a big deal for us. And these Fulbright students, of course, these are men and women that are going on to get PhDs as well as master's degrees and various research things as well. And so it's a fun time to be able to get a chance to go and speak to some of these people, get a chance to know them and stuff. And they had that afternoon, they went down to Hell's Canyon for a boat tour and stuff. And so I said, Lobia asked me, he said, would I go next year? I said, are you kidding me? Yes, I will, you know. Let me know. Sign me up now for it, because that's always a lot of fun, those sort of things. On the 29th, we had an airport board meeting, went over a bunch of different things, and we're right on track with the airport, working on getting things lined up for our Terminal 2, and there's more information to come as we go along with that as well. Also on the 29th, we had the dedication of the Lola Clyde Park sign out of that park. Very nice. A lot of folks that were related to the Clyde family was out there. Art was out there as well. So it's a very nice, a good time to talk to people and stuff. But it's a cool sign. If you haven't seen that on Public Avenue, or Polk, North Polk, go out and take a look at it. It's pretty cool. On the 31st, Art and I went with Tim Davis when we went to solid waste up at the landfill of that. And I know Brandy and Jim the week before, I think on the 24th, went to that. And that is an impressive process for those of you who haven't seen it. And I think there's a lot of people in our area who don't even have a clue it's there. And it's pretty neat how they do it and the work that they put into that. But I think that's a big deal for our community, for our area. So. But the big thing, everybody, I want to remind you, Brandy touched on this briefly, and that's about September 7th, our Vandal Block Party. We want every single person in Moscow to come down and flood the streets. as many vandals as we can from the University of Idaho, those types of vandals. And professors and anybody, we want to have some fun. We're going to block off the street and have a really, really terrific time. And so I've been pushing this. We got all kinds of things. I know Jen's not here, and her and I talked about it earlier. Maybe you can add to it, Gary, if you know the advertisements. I'm going to go up on the radio station, Steve Shannon show on with Jenny Ford, just sitting out in the audience on Friday morning, and we're going to take over the radio station, bolt the doors shut until we get commitments from as many people as possible. Garrett's going to be down there. He's sitting in the audience, so we know he's going to be there as well. What better time for a Friday night, huh, Garrett? Anyway, we're going to have a good time. We want to have some fun down there. It's going to be a nice evening. It's going to be 74 degrees, clear, no rain, no blowing, no smoke, I think. We'll see. But anyway, it should be a good time for all of us. Gary, how about you? Got reports?
Yes, I have nothing to add to your inviting people to the block party. That'll be a great time.
Come. No admission charge.
Staff is getting ready for year end, so we will start locking up the books for fiscal year 2018. Fiscal year 2019 kicks off October 1st, so we're busy doing that. I did have a conversation with Nicole, the ASUI president, about some intersections that she feels that she would like to look at. We've heard them talked about through citizens' input during council, the intersection of Llewellyn and Highway 8. So engineering will be getting together with ITD and hopefully involving the ASUI and University of Idaho folks as well to see if we can identify some kind of resolution to that. 3rd Street Bridge, I wanted to report on that. The bridge engineering has been working with vendors. They've identified a bridge that the cost is just under $50,000. However, with the abutments or the piers, whatever they call them, that these supports that the bridge ends sit on, that's an additional $8,000 estimated. So that's over the $50,000, which requires us to get 3 quotes. So engineering is preparing quotes, requests for quotes. They'll be going out. There'll be a 10-day response time. So we will be moving forward, bringing that to council in October, early October. In the meantime, they are looking at some different deck styles to see if it's possible to use a different type of deck, which wouldn't cost as much money, which might bring it back under $50,000. If we can do that, then we will be moving forward with that post haste. Also wanted to talk about 3rd Street Corridor, the discussion about 4-way stop signs, which were our Transportation Commission wanted the council to look at that and have those signs installed. That will be coming to you also in early October after some of the improvements are in and the street is back open. So that discussion will be coming as well. So that's all my report. Oh, we do have
The lunch tomorrow.
Yes, we have a luncheon tomorrow at noon to 1:30 at University and Best Western. That's our monthly city, county, university, Moscow School District luncheon.
Catherine's got a question.
Yeah, I was just interested, Gary, when you had a chance to talk to the ASUI president, and we had just had a conversation about getting a credit if you were a student to sit on a commission. Did you happen to have a chance to talk to her?
No, that conversation I just had with her was during our Smart Transit meeting or just afterwards. So it wasn't, she had to go and was on her way to class, so we didn't have a lot of time. But
Okay.
I will follow up on that.
Okay, I'm just curious if they thought it was viable.
Okay.
I would entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All in favor? Opposed? We're closed at 7:53. Thank you, everybody.